You wake up, and the room is completely quiet. You check the clock, 3:07 a.m. Again, not once in a while, not after a stressful day, but over and over, night after night. And if you're over 50, there's a good chance you've wondered the same thing millions of people silently ask themselves in the dark. Why does this keep happening to me? Most people assume something is wrong with their sleep. Maybe stress, maybe aging, maybe they think their body is just wearing out. But here's the surprising truth. In many cases, your body isn't failing at sleep. It's changing the way it sleeps. The timing shifts, the depth shifts, and the brain becomes more alert during the night. And once you understand what's actually happening inside your circadian rhythm, something interesting happens. That frustrating 3 a.m. wake up suddenly starts to make sense. In the next few minutes, you'll discover the real biological reasons sleep becomes lighter after 50, what your brain is doing in the middle of the night, and a few simple adjustments that can dramatically improve sleep quality, energy, and long-term health span, mobility, and independence. Because aging well isn't about chasing youth. It's about understanding your body well enough to work with it, not against it. There's a moment many people notice sometime after 50. You wake up, glance at the clock, and it says 4:12 a.m. Not once, not occasionally, but again and again. At first it feels frustrating, almost like your sleep system suddenly stopped cooperating. But here's the interesting part. Your body isn't malfunctioning. In fact, it's doing something very natural. The internal clock that governs your longevity, health span, and healthy aging rhythms is quietly shifting earlier. Inside the brain, there's a tiny structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, essentially the body's master clock. Over the decades, that clock gradually moves forward, meaning your biological signals for sleep start earlier in the evening. That's why someone who used to feel perfectly awake at 11:30 p.m. now finds themselves yawning at 9:30. The body begins lowering its core temperature earlier, releasing sleep signals sooner, and preparing the nervous system for rest well before midnight. This is part of aging well, not something going wrong. And here's where many people unknowingly create a problem. They keep trying to force the same schedule they had at 35. Midnight bedtime, late night television, bright lights in the house, maybe scrolling on a phone while telling themselves they're not tired yet. The body, however, already shifted its rhythm. So the result is fragmented sleep. One practical experiment: try shifting bedtime just 30 to 45 minutes earlier for 2 weeks while waking at the same time. Many people are surprised how quickly sleep becomes smoother. This is also why people who age well often embrace slightly earlier evenings. Not extreme, just aligned with biology. A calm evening routine, dimmer lights after 9 p.m., maybe light stretching that supports mobility and functional fitness, or even a short walk after dinner to regulate circadian signals. Small habits like these help protect quality of life and independence over the long run. But this shift in timing is only part of the story, because the real change happening in sleep after 50 is happening deeper inside the brain itself. But here's where the story gets more interesting and a little surprising. Most people think the problem after 50 is falling asleep. In reality, the bigger change is what happens after you're already asleep. The brain gradually spends less time in what scientists call slow-wave sleep, the deepest and most restorative stage of the night. This is the phase responsible for physical recovery, hormonal balance, tissue repair, and many of the biological processes that support longevity and healthy aging. During deep sleep, the body does some of its most important maintenance work. Growth hormone is released, muscles recover from daily activity, and the brain clears metabolic waste through a system sometimes compared to a nighttime cleaning crew. That's one reason sleep plays such a powerful role in health span, mobility, and strength after 50. When deep sleep becomes shorter, which naturally happens with age, sleep can feel lighter, more fragile, almost like the brain is hovering closer to wakefulness. Now here's the part most people never hear. The decline in deep sleep doesn't mean your sleep system is broken. It means the architecture of sleep is changing. Think of it like a house that's being remodeled over time. The stages are still there, but the proportions shift. That's why a noise that wouldn't wake you at 35 might wake you instantly at 65. The brain simply spends less time in those deeply protected phases of sleep. Interestingly, certain daily habits can still support deeper sleep cycles. Regular functional fitness, light resistance training, and walking during the day all increase sleep pressure at night. Even simple routines like a 20-minute afternoon walk or gentle mobility exercises for the hips and spine can improve sleep quality. These same habits are already pillars of evidence-based health strategies for aging well, supporting strength, balance, and independence over time. But the next shift in sleep after 50 explains something even more frustrating: why your brain suddenly reacts to the smallest disturbances in the middle of the night. But here's where things start to feel personal for many people. After 50, sleep doesn't just become lighter. The brain becomes far more sensitive to small disturbances. A tiny sound in the house, a faint light through the curtain, even a subtle temperature change in the room. Things that once passed unnoticed now trigger wakefulness. Many people interpret this as insomnia, but in many cases, it's simply the brain operating in a more alert nighttime mode as part of the aging process. Think of it like the brain's security system becoming slightly more vigilant with age. When deep sleep stages shorten, the nervous system spends more time closer to wakefulness. That means the brain is quicker to respond to signals in the environment. A dog moving in another room, the refrigerator turning on, or even a shifting blanket can activate the brain just enough to bring you back to consciousness. Ironically, this increased sensitivity may have once had evolutionary value, keeping older members of a group more alert during the night. There are also physiological triggers that become more noticeable over time. Hormonal shifts, small increases in nighttime cortisol, or simply a fuller bladder can nudge the brain toward waking. That's why many adults over 60 report waking 2 or 3 times per night, even when they otherwise feel healthy. It's rarely a sign that something is wrong with your longevity or health span trajectory. In fact, many people who are physically active, practicing strength after 50 routines, functional fitness and mobility work, still experience these nighttime awakenings. This is where small environmental adjustments can make a surprisingly large difference. Blackout curtains, slightly cooler room temperatures, and reducing nighttime noise can help protect sleep stability. Even placing a small red nightlight instead of bright white lighting can prevent melatonin disruption if you wake briefly. These simple adjustments support healthy aging and quality of life, allowing the brain to return to sleep more easily. But there's another hidden factor influencing these awakenings, and it involves a hormone most people think they already understand: melatonin. Now, here's something most people misunderstand about melatonin. They assume the issue after 50 is simply producing less of it. That's partially true, but it's not the whole story. The more interesting shift is timing. The body may actually begin releasing melatonin earlier in the evening than it used to. So if someone stays under bright lights until midnight, the brain receives conflicting signals. Biological night has already started, but the environment is telling the brain it's still daytime. Melatonin works like a quiet messenger for the circadian system. It doesn't force sleep. It signals that nighttime has arrived. When its release becomes slightly weaker and earlier with age, the system becomes easier to disrupt. Bright LED lighting, television glare, tablets, or phones can suppress melatonin much more quickly than people realize. Even something as simple as strong overhead kitchen lights at 10 p.m. can delay the brain's natural transition into deeper sleep cycles. This is where a small shift in evening habits can support evidence-based health and healthy aging in surprisingly powerful ways. Dimming lights after 9 p.m., switching to warmer lamps instead of bright ceiling lights, or using night shift modes on devices can help protect natural melatonin signaling. Some people also benefit from creating a predictable evening routine: reading a book, gentle stretching for mobility, or light breathing exercises. These aren't extreme biohacking techniques. They're simple signals telling the nervous system that the day is ending. And interestingly, people who protect these signals often notice improvements not only in sleep, but also in daytime energy, mood stability, and even functional fitness performance the next day. After all, sleep quality feeds directly into recovery, strength maintenance, and long-term health span and independence. But there's still one behavior that quietly sabotages sleep for many people over 50. And it's something they often do with good intentions: trying to sleep in after a bad night. Here's a pattern that happens to many people, and it seems perfectly logical at first. You have a rough night. Maybe you wake up at 3 a.m., maybe twice. So the next morning you decide to sleep in a little longer. It feels like the sensible thing to do. After all, you're just trying to recover. But the circadian system doesn't interpret it that way. In fact, after 50, irregular wake times can quietly make the next night's sleep more fragmented, not less. The reason is that the body's internal clock thrives on consistency. As the circadian rhythm becomes slightly less flexible with age, it relies more heavily on predictable signals, especially the moment you wake up. That first burst of morning light hitting the eyes tells the brain when the day begins. From there, a cascade of biological timers starts counting down toward nighttime sleep. When wake-up times shift dramatically, the brain loses that rhythm, and the sleep cycle becomes less stable. People who age well often treat their wake time like an anchor point for the entire day. Whether they slept perfectly or not, they still wake at roughly the same hour and expose themselves to daylight within the first 20 minutes. A simple walk outside, coffee near a bright window, or light stretching for mobility and balance sends a strong signal to the circadian system. Over time, that consistency supports better sleep pressure at night, which directly contributes to Healthspan, functional fitness, and quality of life. And here's a subtle insight many overlook. Sleep improvement after 50 often comes from stabilizing the day, not forcing the night. The more consistent the daytime rhythm, waking, movement, meals, light exposure, the more predictable sleep becomes. This is a core principle behind many evidence-based health and longevity practices. In fact, some of these daily rhythms play a surprisingly powerful role in protecting deep sleep itself. And a few small habits during the day can make a noticeable difference by the time your head touches the pillow. Now here's the encouraging part of the story. Even though sleep architecture changes with age, daily habits still have remarkable influence over how well the brain moves through sleep cycles. The body is constantly gathering signals throughout the day that determine how strong sleep pressure will be at night. In other words, the quality of your night often begins the moment you wake up. This is one of the overlooked foundations of longevity, health span, and aging well. One of the most powerful signals is morning light exposure. When natural daylight hits the eyes within the first hour after waking, it resets the circadian clock and strengthens nighttime melatonin release later on. This doesn't require anything extreme. 10 to 20 minutes outside, walking the dog, watering plants, or simply drinking coffee near a sunny window can reinforce the biological rhythm that protects deep sleep. Think of morning light as the body's natural sleep calibration system. Movement during the day plays a similar role. Regular activity builds what scientists call sleep pressure, the gradual accumulation of fatigue that makes sleep deeper at night. This doesn't mean punishing workouts. In fact, the best strategy for strength after 50 and functional fitness is often moderate, consistent movement. A brisk walk, light resistance training twice a week, or simple mobility work for the hips, ankles, and spine all support recovery while also strengthening balance, independence, and quality of life. And finally, there's the environment where sleep actually happens. The brain sleeps best when the room temperature drops slightly during the night, helping the body maintain its natural cooling process. A room around 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit tends to support deeper sleep cycles. Darker rooms also protect melatonin release. These aren't complicated biohacking strategies, just practical adjustments grounded in evidence-based health and healthy aging science. And interestingly, many of the deeper principles behind these habits are explored in a practical way in the book, The Longevity Protocol, your comprehensive guide to a longer, healthier life, which we linked in the pinned comment for those who want to build a complete daily system for how to age better while protecting independence over time. Now here's the real question. What do you do with this knowledge tonight? Because understanding why you wake up at 3 a.m. after 50 isn't just interesting, it gives you control. When you align your evening light, protect your circadian rhythm, Stay consistent with your wake time and keep your body moving during the day. Sleep gradually becomes more stable again. Not perfect. No one sleeps like they did at 25, but stronger, deeper, and far more restorative, which is what really supports longevity and health span. So take a moment and ask yourself something honestly. Are your daily habits helping your body age well or quietly working against it? Are you giving your brain the signals it needs for recovery, mobility, and strength after 50? Or are small routines slowly eroding your sleep quality and energy? Because the truth is simple. The goal isn't perfect sleep. The goal is protecting the things that sleep protects: your strength, your balance, your independence, and your quality of life. And remember something we repeat often here on this channel. Your goal isn't youth, it's independence. If this video helped you understand your sleep a little better, make sure to subscribe to Longevity Blueprint and turn on notifications, because every week we break down simple, evidence-based strategies to help you improve your health span, mobility, and functional fitness as you age. And before you go, there's another piece of the puzzle you shouldn't ignore. Many people focus on sleep, but completely overlook what happens at breakfast. And that's where muscle loss after 60 often quietly begins. That's exactly why we made a video explaining why muscle loss after 60 may start at breakfast and what you should actually eat to protect strength and longevity. It'll be on your screen right now. Go watch that next. Your future body will thank you.